we are now being warned that China poses one of the greatest threats to the United States. And this has nothing to do with our militaries. This has nothing to do with Taiwan. This is just China, Chinese manufacturing and parts, and the United States. Because this is something that almost 100% of people are not talking about. And the reason they're not talking about it is because they don't know this even exists. So I'm going to address what's going on at this time, why so many people are oblivious to what is actually happening, and how the United States may handle this moving forward. All I ask is one thing, takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So people here in the United States are oblivious to what is actually going on. Not because they want to, but because they have no idea and nobody's discussing what is actually happening. Now I want to show you something, because it's not just the people that are worried, it's not just lawmakers that are worried, the FBI is worried as well.
China's multi-pronged assault on our national and economic security make it the defining threat of our generation.
China is a threat. We know this, and we've known this for many years. This is nothing new. But what most people don't realize is how much of a threat they are to our daily lives. China poses a massive risk, not just because of what I'm about to talk about, but because of hacking, because of their ability to get within our systems, which they have done successfully, and we know this. But let's listen to what the FBI Director Christopher Wray had to say again, because like I said before, this is something that the American people have been oblivious to for many years.
China's hackers are positioning on American infrastructure in preparation to wreak havoc and cause real-world harm to American citizens and communities.
Now, he says they're going to wreak havoc and cause real-world harm to American citizens and communities. Guess what? They are very close. And this is what was just announced the other day. Look at this right here. This is the question. Could China be spying on U.S. ports using secret technology built into cranes? These are the cranes. Right here, this is the port of Oakland. Okay? These cranes move so many different cargo boxes. They're moving all this inventory. Okay? It could be car parts. It could be furniture. It could be medical equipment. Okay, these are just the beginnings. And this is where many people say that we are pretty much at the mercy of China. Look at this. It says an espionage probe finds communications device on Chinese cranes at U.S. ports. It says lawmakers' discovery has fueled worries in Washington that the China-built equipment could be a national security threat at America's ports. This isn't a possibility. We now have confirmation that China, if they wanted to, these companies that built this technology, could shut it down the flick of a switch. I want to read you something else. Look at this. It says a congressional investigation into Chinese-built cargo cranes at U.S. ports has uncovered concerns about potential national security risks. It says lawmakers worry about the threat of espionage and disruption posed by these cranes, which are predominantly manufactured by ZPMC, a Chinese company. It says utilizing modems to remotely monitor operations and track maintenance at U.S. ports. This isn't uncommon. However, some ports did not request the installation of modems on the cranes. Now, I want to read you some statements in just a moment. Okay, these are statements. They're from Dmitry Alperovich. He's a former special advisor for the Department of Defense. He had this to say. Listen to this right here. He says, there have been communication devices that have been found on the cranes. They can be remotely controlled. First of all, for intelligence collection purposes, you can use it to figure out what is going in a port, and then you might have the ability to actually destroy that infrastructure and prevent logistics. For example, from flowing into the Indo-Pacific if there's some sort of conflict with China. For instance, let me just paint this picture for you. Let's say the United States, we're going to send military equipment to the Indo-Pacific. Well, if we label that stuff military equipment and China sees it, and we already have increased tensions in the Indo-Pacific because they will see what the item is and the destination for that item. All that crane has to do, if this is true, if this is truly part of the capabilities of these cranes and the system, is if someone on the back end says, nope, we don't want to go in there, and so then they just drop it into the sea. Or they do not pick up that certain box. The crane doesn't pick it up, and they just leave it. Or put it on a different boat and takes it somewhere completely different. Could that happen? According to reports, the answer is yes. But here's the thing. According to Alperovich, he says, we're finally waking up to the threat. That's finally happening. The United States is doing many things. Many of these things that we're doing is in response to what China is doing. Because again, we are somewhat a step or two behind. But what the United States is planning and what the Biden administration wants to do is they want for U.S. companies to manufacture the equipment, put together the system that is in place that we can now make cranes domestically. We do not have to go internationally. That would be a huge win for the United States, because then this whole issue of China potentially having cranes that are spying on us, well, guess what? It's not an issue anymore. We don't have to worry about that because we are now using U.S. parts, U.S. technology. However, the concern is it could take us a little while. It could take us, 3, 4, 5 years. This is not something that's just going to happen overnight. However, I bring this up because about sometime last year or the year before, it was either in 2022 or 2023, I mentioned a story very similar to this, where we were just getting out of the pandemic. We were seeing our supply chain was starting to rebound. And one of the big concerns that lawmakers had at that time was, could China shut us down? And the answer was yes. They could shut us down because we knew at that time they were in certain infrastructure. They could, obviously, hurt us by getting in there, hacking our infrastructure, shutting us down. But they could also do it by attacking our ports and hitting the largest ports in the United States. That's the concern. So right now, all I can tell you is that the U.S. officials know what is at stake. They understand China is already in the mix. But is there an alternative? At this time, according to reports, the answer is no. There is no alternative, so the United States needs to continue to play safe and play nice with China until we can figure out a way to manufacture and create these cranes and these systems ourselves. And then we could potentially increase conflicts. So we'll see what happens moving forward. All I can tell you is I will be here every step of the way. I'll fill you in on all the latest news and updates. But that is what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing. I'll see you guys on the next one.